Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a busy day. We're remaking a tail on the bird. Michelle just got back from Canada. She was up there visiting for 2 weeks, so I made a tail for the bird while Michelle was gone, and I'm here this morning looking at it, and I don't like it. To me it's too small. The feathers are too small, and they're just they don't look like an eagle feather. They look like I don't know, like a hummingbird tail or something. So I'm remaking the feathers. So the tail feathers I made, they're about 5 3/4 to 6 inches wide. And I felt they looked too narrow and they didn't fill up the space of the tail for such a big bird. I'm really happy with the feet. The shape of the bird, the head, the face, loving it. Really like it. I think it's gonna be one of my best ones. But you know, you make something and you stand back and you look at it, and for me, it's been bugging me for a few days. And then when Michelle got back this last night and this morning when we came in, I just wanted to have another opinion and a fresh look at it. And we both agree that it's too small. So I'm gonna make the feathers wider and make it a little more bigger. And I'm also going to move the tail feathers down where I mounted them. So I mounted them about almost a foot up on the back of the bird, and thinking, you know, it would be better to have it mounted like that. But I think I need to move the tail feathers towards the bottom of the bird more and taper it into its bum a little more. So that's the next project I'm working on today. I'll put a bead roll in these instead of bending them. So if you kind of look at the way I've done the tail, I made each feather, and then I used to do a lot of my wings and my feathers and my tail feathers like that. I just put a bend down the middle, and it kind of gives it that center of the feather and gives it a feather look in the end when it's all fabricated. But now that I have Bailey's new bead roller, I am going to be working with Bailey's big bead roller that I bought. I've got some different size round dies for it to put a round bead, round profile bead in them. I did a couple samples over there on the stand, and you can see the bead that I put in those. And those are 2 different size beads. One's really large, one's kind of a medium large one, and I like both of them. So I'm going to work with one of those and start reshaping the feathers. The other thing that I noticed on the feathers that I made is I made them too uniform at the bottom, where they're rounded off at the bottom of the feather. They were just too, like, it was like tracing a plate on there and just too round. So I'm going to add a little more shape to them. I'll maybe make some lefts and rights, so each feather will have kind of somewhat of a right pattern, somewhat of a left pattern. When they come together, it should look really good. There's 12 tail feathers, so I've never seen an eagle with less or more. So 12 tail feathers is what I'm making. So that's what we're working on. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a follow on YouTube. Now I got to lay out all the shapes. So to do this, you got to go over there, and we got to bend this. This one's offset. So, okay, now you need your own pen too. So we both have a pen, and then we'll do that, and we'll both draw, and then we'll just go down. Okay. My wife Michelle is an unbelievable help to me in the shop. I'm not sure what I would do without her. She's been helping me with all my projects for years, and I just couldn't do any of this without her, I don't think. So here we are laying out the patterns for the tail feathers. I hand draw them first. I don't use any computers or CAD design. This is all from my imagination, research, and my hand. That looks starting to look more like what I normally do instead of those funky little whatever they were. I like it this way because, like in nature, every piece ends up being slightly different. The bead roll stops, doesn't go to the end. It fades off and disappears. So it doesn't, if we just stop the bead back here before you get to the end, that'll look better.
It's too bad you can't taper it, but...
Well, you could. Oh no, the lever will do that. As we get to here, start lifting the lever off as it goes through, and then just taper it off to nothing. Fucking awesome. That's gonna make a big difference too. Big difference. Now I'm excited, see?
You just needed your wife home to...
Oh my God. Is this on film? So here I am cutting tail feathers, and I'm using, it's actually a 10 gauge power shear by Nikita. It's quite a heavy little tool, but as you can see, it cuts through this 16 or 18 gauge stainless pretty easy. It's pretty much my go-to tool. I cut all my sheet metal with that. I can cut curves left and right. I can cut straight lines with it. Really easy cleanup, no burrs or deep contamination on the edge. It's just an up and down shear like you see there. It's rated quite heavy for mild steel, but it'll do 16 gauge stainless, no problem. So that's what we're doing here. We're just cutting all the lengths of feathers for the wings, cleaning them up, taking the burr off them, getting them ready to bend. So each one of these gets a slight bend in them, which stiffens them up, puts the center line in them, and I'm also gonna run a bead this time. Now, we were gonna do the big bead roll on these, weren't we? That's what we decided, right? So we're putting the biggest bead roller that I have on here. The bead gives it the impression of a center flute of a feather, but it also acts as a stiffener for strength. And this is a motorized, mechanized bead roller from Bailey Tools. This is a pretty common tool used in the hot rod industry. We used to do floor pans and trump pans and different beads and offsets that you could do with a bead roller. But you can also do edging, you can fold with them, and yeah, lots of artistic applications as well. I think it'll be fine. Now, do we want the bead a little stronger? Probably, eh?
Yeah.
This is quite a large bead roll die that we're using. I believe it's like a 3/4 inch bead roll. This machine from Bailey is great. It's got lots of power. It has a foot pedal, so you got forward and reverse. So that's one of the options that we have with this machine. The lever on the side, you can see there's a lever on the arm, just under my arm on the side of the machine. You can loosen that and you can move the top die forward, inside and out. So you can offset the bead roll depending on the dies you're using, and you can change the offset. So it's a very versatile machine. So we have a power lever that I'm using, and that power lever isn't on many other machines. So that's what's really nice about the Bailey machine, is having that power lever. Allows you to quickly stop, reset, put your part right back in there. Lots of times, other machines are just using the tension screw on top. So you gotta screw it down and count all your rotations to make sure that you're at the same strength all the time with your bead roll. Same depth of your bead roll, the same tension. And having that power lever, you can leave the tension in one spot, and then you can just remove the tension with the lever. Put your piece in, take it out, put it right back into the same tension. So that's really nice about that lever. And then below that, you'll see the rheostat. So you can actually change the speed and forward and reverse, change the speed of the machine on the rheostat manually. And you can also change the speed using your foot with the foot pedal. So that makes it incredibly versatile. The machine is on wheels, so you can just grab it, roll it around the shop where you're working, and conveniently it runs on 110 power. So you can have it anywhere in the shop, and it's a great, great versatile machine. Probably one of my favorite go-to machines for crafting metalware. So now that we have all 12 tail feathers cut and have run a bead on them all, we need to remove that first tail I built so we can start installing this new one. Even though that's an expensive decision to make, and I spent a lot of time making that first tail, I've got a vision in my head of what this bird's gonna look like, and I've got to try and achieve that at any cost. Just hold it there. Should I have it down like that, or should it be up?
Oh, you mean up like this?
Up, oh, down makes it more visible from the front. Do you know what I mean? Which makes it look more impressive from the front.
Yeah.
Like right there, I think. I need to stack them like right there.
Yeah.
And I don't think they need to be spread apart. I think these two should be like on top of each other. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then these ones all start to spread out. Let's just, before I truly do that, let's just make sure that we're gonna find.
Are you gonna lie?
Where's that picture? And then all the rest are underneath on the way out. So start in the middle and then work your way underneath on the way out. And then I'll just cut them, see how they arch. So I'll cut them in a way here, that they taper, so each one will be just like a little bit shorter, you know, an inch shorter each one, so it gives it that taper too. So the first thing we do with the tail feathers is we decide on the angle of where the feathers are going to be and what overlap we're going to have on them. How tight I'm going to have them, how wide of a spread the feathers are going to have. Each pose of a needle, whether it's landing, flying, sitting, they always have their feathers balancing. So really, it's about standing back, looking at the pose that I'm building. And you can see here the bird is basically like a big plucked chicken. It's like putting shingles on a house. So we start with the tail, and the feet basically start the whole process of feathering. So I just figure out the gap and the span of the feathers, how I want them to look. And the next step after this is going to be stitch tacking them. So basically what I'm doing is I'm using clamps and I'm giving them a nice tight fit so I can fuse tack all the edges and make a nice tight fit, and then I can get ready after all this fitting and tacking, I can weld these out. Once the welding and cleanup is done a little bit, then I can start layering the next layer of feathers and start blending up into the body. The next layer of feathers are also a little bit larger. They're not like these tail feathers, but they're larger than the body feathers. And I'll make a fan pattern and just keep putting layers of feathers slowly, getting smaller and smaller until I'm up at the body and moving up the back and moving up the belly. And then I'll start on the ankles and work my way up into the body from there. And that's just the way I like to do my feathering. And as you can see on all these, I've got that bead roll in there versus just a slight bend. And it's just a different look, a different method of doing it. And I really like it, so that's what we've gone with.